So welcome everyone for today's session, tips and strategies for saving on a tight budget. I think we're all feeling like our budgets are a little tight these days, and I'm so pleased for you to join us today. This program is being co-sponsored and supported by the University of Delaware Cooperative Extension, and I work for them. I am Maria Pepitas, and I am a financial educator with Cooperative Extension and also the Department of Health and Social Services, specifically the Division of Developmental Disability Services. And as I said, I'm Maria Pepitas. I'm a extension educator in family and consumer sciences. At the University of Delaware, we have Ed Gutzeit, who is our Master Financial Education Volunteer, and Jennifer Tozer is the Manager of Family Engagement with the DHSS, Delaware Department of Developmental Disabilities. And welcome, Beth, and all of our participants. So, I know you came here to learn about some strategies that you use, or strategies to save money, but I wanted to start with you. I wanted to know what you're doing now. What types of activities do you do to try and set money aside for your future or for your goals? So you can type in the chat, you can unmute yourself, however you want to do that. Just share. What are some strategies you use to save money?
Hello, this is Janine. One of the things that we do is taking advantage of the 401k from work. So we are able to get some money aside before getting into the paycheck that is deposited for our spending money.
So that's great. So it's sort of that whole notion of taking money off the top so you get to set that aside, and it's not sort of part of that general amount of money that you use for living expenses. So that's a great,
That's correct.
That's a great example. Yep. Okay, other ideas. What do other people do?
Am I unmuted at the moment?
Yes, you are.
I tried to do the chat. I can't figure out how to send it. Any contracts that we have, personal, like streaming services, cell phones, internet, when there's any change in the amount that I'm being billed, I figure out why it changed. And then if it's expiration of some sort of discount deal, I call them up and tell them to terminate the service unless they can figure out a discount deal for the next year on an ongoing basis. And sometimes you have to wait until they actually cancel the service, and then you're eligible for a new subscriber service, and it's a lot cheaper than what you were paying.
That's another great example of really just using your consumer power to put some pressure on, especially phone and cable services to comparison shop and get a lower charge. So that's a great example of kind of really using your consumer power to change how much people are charging you. It's amazing when you ask how many will often offer a discount.
I was going to say it's a simple one, but it works for me, and I still use coupons. Coupon clipping works for me because I have a very simple palette. So typically, I don't have a favorite grocery store. I'm not loyal to one chain, so I pay attention to the things that I know that I like or know that I eat regularly. And you can save a fair amount of money. I think the one time I did a really big trip, and with all of the coupons and paying attention to manufacturer coupons, I saved like $80 on one grocery bill on one trip one time. So
wow, that's awesome.
have to give us hints of how to do it, tips and hints to do that.
Yeah, yeah,
Right,
yeah.
ShopRite doubles their coupons up to 75 cents. So when you get the manufacturer coupons, and it's a 75-cent one, ShopRite will double it, and so you get $1.50 off, and it just adds up.
Mm-hmm,
Wow, didn't know that.
mm-hmm. That's great. There's lots of grocery stores that do that. But I think ShopRite is the biggest in terms of the amount they'll cover. So that's great. Thank you for sharing that. So here are a few that I have come up with over the years, and as I've taught this class many, many times, and ideas that people have shared with me, I've kind of put in this list. And so let's see if I can get this list. Okay, so tips for saving money, right? The whole idea of paying yourself first. So this idea that, money is coming in, you have some things that you might be saving for, and it may be retirement, like that 401k example, but it could be some other things. And so it's that idea of, as money is coming in, to take a little bit off the top that doesn't get put into your, or that does get put into a savings account, and then working really hard to kind of live with the amount that's left in your checking account, right? So that it's, or the account that you use to pay the bills, so that first thing, that money is coming out of that paycheck or that income and moving it towards those things that are really important to you. So that's a notion of paying yourself first. The next one is saving any bonus money, or if you have overtime in your place of employment, or if maybe you inherit some money that you didn't know was coming, to take that money and save all of it or a part of it. If it's a raise for your place of employment, you've spent the last year sort of living on the income that you've been earning, and now you get a raise. The idea here is you take that difference, that maybe 1 or 2% raise, and pay yourself first with that. Set it aside. You're used to living on less. Continue living on less, so to speak, and take that extra money and put it towards some savings goals. The third one is that idea of saving coupon money. So, someone made the suggestion of using coupons in order to lower your monthly or your weekly food bill. And the idea here would be is, the money that you're actually saving because you did that work on the food bill, you would take that money and put it in a savings account. So let's say I use coupons and I save $10. I would take that $10 and put it into a savings account. And so again, you're kind of finding money to save by using the coupons, and then rather than having that savings applied towards other living expenses, you're applying it towards some sort of savings. The fourth bullet here is this idea of continuing an installment loan payment. So what's an installment loan? An installment loan is when you use credit to purchase, say, a car, or in some cases a home, or other items. And so an installment loan works in that the same amount is due to pay off the debt each month. So when you finally get to the end of that installment loan and you have finished paying for that item, again, you're kind of used to not having that money to spend in other places. So take that amount and put it into savings. Have it direct deposited maybe, or you transfer it into a savings account. And maybe it's not the whole thing, maybe it's part of it. Okay, the fifth thing here is collecting loose change. So how many of us run around with lots of change in our pockets? And then at the end of the day, our pockets are full of change. And so the idea here is we take that change and we set it aside, maybe put it in a drawer or a jar, or I've seen big water bottles full with change, and use that as a way to kind of save money and maybe it's set aside for a goal or something that you want to accomplish. Now we're up on the top of the second list here, this idea of saving money for eating out or dinner out, lunch or dinner out. Oftentimes this is a place where we spend money and yet it can be more expensive than if we were eating at home. And so the idea here would be to kind of look at, well, how frequently am I eating out, and can I take some of those dollars and set them aside for money or for savings. Another thought here is this idea of investing in quality products that last longer, right? And so instead of buying cheap, I'll just call it sneakers, for example, try and invest in something that's going to last you for a little while, and then you won't have to buy them as often. Shopping for sales, that's a no-brainer. We're looking for those kinds of things all the time, hopefully, as a way to kind of save money. Plan a nothing week. This is something that a mom shared with me as a way to kind of really engage her family and also save money. And so the idea here was every 2 months, she would inform her family. And in this case, it was a family, but it could be your kind of support network or your friends who you're hanging out with, and you plan a nothing week. And what nothing week means is there's no extra spending. And so money that might have been spent for eating out or for going to the movies, sort of those recreation kinds of fees, all of that kind of didn't happen that week. And she would then prepare meals using things that were in her freezer or in the pantry, and really tried to not buy any groceries that week and just use up what she had. And then all of that money that she saved, and maybe it was $25, but all of that money they saved because they didn't do anything and didn't spend extra money, she put into her savings account. She said that they ended up having game nights, kind of doing things together as a family to kind of entertain each other, those kinds of things. And so she tried to make it fun for her family. She had kids in their 8, 9, 10 age group. So she was trying to make it fun. So those are ways that she tried to identify strategies then for saving money. The next to last one here is this idea of avoiding paying credit card charges or ATM fees. And so on the credit card charges, it's about trying to pay credit card charges on time, so you're not paying late fees or extra interest fees. And on the side of your ATM fees, it's about planning when you take money out, so you're not being charged fees for withdrawing cash. So for my own self, for example, I know that I need about $20 worth of cash every week. And so when I go to the supermarket on Saturday, I withdraw an extra $20 worth of cash that I then have in my wallet for when I need it this coming week. When I withdraw it in that way, I don't pay any withdrawal fees. The other thing I do is I try and limit myself. Like, I'm only going to spend $20. So it helps me stay within my spending plan. The last one here is break expensive habits. And so breaking expensive habits is this idea that we are looking at our behaviors and looking for things that really end up costing us money. And it could be in what might be called an unhealthy habit. So it might be something like smoking, but it could also be something like, I really like new shoes. Or I really enjoy new types of video games, for example. And so it's that idea of really looking at how you are spending money and which ones are kind of habits that maybe you need to relook at. I wanted to speak to, the next thing I'm going to do is kind of talk about 6 different strategies you can use to help save money. And so this first one is about breaking bad money habits. And so it's about figuring out what is that habit. And I kind of shared a couple of things. You know, my sister is she just loves shoes and she just spends money on shoes, right? An example from when I was younger and I worked in an office and there was a vending machine there, and I noticed that, you know, around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I was getting tired and I needed a little break, and I would, you know, the vending machine was like really far from my office. So I would take a walk and I would go to the vending machine and I would buy a soda, right? And so I discovered when I started kind of tracking my spending that I was spending a lot of money on soda out of the vending machine. And I started thinking about that. It was like almost every day. And when I added it up, it was like, I don't know, $10 a week on soda from the vending machine. And the more I thought about it, I was like, that's ridiculous. I could still drink soda every day if I wanted, if and and if I buy it from the supermarket and I bring it with me, it will be way cheaper, right? But the other thing I recognized, that the other reason I was doing that is because I needed to move my body and stretch a little bit. And so I started doing things different, right? I started bringing my soda with me, and I started with me to work, and then I started taking a walk in the afternoon, which was way better for me anyway, right? So it's looking at those habits and thinking about, well, why am I doing this? Is it really because I want or need this item when I'm shopping? Or am I doing it for something else, some other reason? And if there's some other reason, maybe you can come up with a different strategy for achieving what it is that you really are wanting or needing that will cost you less money. So the key here is identifying, well, what is that habit? So I'm going to ask you, are there habits that you have? Are there things that you do daily, weekly, where you're spending money that maybe if you thought about it differently, you could accomplish the same thing without spending as much money?
Okay, yes, for me, I'm every week on a Saturday, because during the week I don't have time, I literally have to stop to Starbucks and just have my little caramel iced caramel macchiato. I know they say do I know they say do one less, but you know, that's my guilty pleasure. I don't do too much else, but I am guilty of doing that every Saturday.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. And you
Hmm.
know, it's not like you have to deprive yourself, right? If that is your one special thing a week, you know,
Yes.
and you build it into your spending plan, then you're probably okay. But there's some people who have very expensive, frequent, and more than one expensive habits. And so it's about looking at the whole picture. So really, thank you for sharing that.
I've been spending too much on DVDs.
I'm sorry, on what?
DVDs.
DVDs, movies.
DVDs. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So are you downloading them? Are you actually buying the DVDs?
Uh, getting them on Amazon.
Okay, okay. So it sounds like you have a collection. Okay, so we're going to talk in a little bit about another strategy that maybe you can apply, Benjamin. We'll talk about that. Anybody else?
one of my guys said, spending money on sneakers and video games.
And video games.
So,
So, okay. So there are some things, right, that
I'm guilty of Prime, like Prime shopping. Prime. That's it.
oh yeah, Amazon is a big thing.
yes,
Yeah.
Amazon is a big thing. They make it easy, don't
Yes.
they? They do. Yes. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit. Let's move on and let's talk a little bit about some, kind of next steps, right? So you want to look at some of those behaviors and see, is there something that you might need to change and make the decision. I'm going to try something different. I'm going to maybe reduce the frequency of how often I buy sneakers or video games or DVDs. I might, try and find other ways to get the same thing more cheaply, maybe shopping the sales, maybe going to uh, uh, um, Goodwill, those kinds of places where you might be able to find things less expensive. All right, and then you want to put it into action and make sure you share your plan. And by that, I mean, if you're going to make a decision to change, sometimes we need help to stay on track. And so if you share your plan with some colleagues or your support system or your family members, they can help you stay on track, right?
Mhm.
So those are getting family to help you or friends to help you is really important. And then try and stick to your plan. And then when you have a little bit of money set aside because you've managed your spending a little bit differently, you can celebrate, right? So those are important steps to take when you're trying to break money habits. All right. So I know for some of you, we did this last week together, but I want you to close your eyes and think about where you want to be in 2 to 4 years. So I want you to close your eyes, take a deep breath. And what I'd like you to do is create a picture in your mind about what you would have liked to accomplish, where would you like to be, who is around you, and think about all of those things that you would like to kind of have in your life and who you would like to be with and what you have accomplished, sometime into the future. And I want you to put yourself in the picture, and I want you to have a big smile on your face because you're happy. And so now I'm going to be quiet and let you create that picture in your mind. Okay, so give me a thumbs up if you've got your picture in your mind. Try and remember who is around you, where are you, what have you accomplished, and your homework is to make a drawing of this picture. Make a drawing. Could be stick figures, it could just be pencil and paper, it could be crayons, could be markers, it could be cutouts from a magazine, doesn't matter. Just create that picture for yourself. All right, so I want you to be able to use this vision of your future self to help you break your habits. And so what does that mean? Well, if you have this great picture of yourself in your brain, it makes it easier to not do some of those things that can undermine your financial or spending right now, right? So if you know you want to accomplish some of the things that you created that picture, that's in that picture, saving for making some of those things happen is going to be really important. And so by having that picture kind of in your mind, you can make different choices about some of those habits. All right, here's strategy 2. You want to set some goals to start you on your way, right? And so you need to know, what am I saving for, and how much do I need, and when do you plan to use it? And so it's really important to make a list of the things that you are hoping to accomplish, both personally but also financially, right? Because some things take money to achieve. Sometimes, there may be, like, say we want a new DVD player, for example. maybe we're going to have to save money in order to make that happen. So what am I saving for? And how much is that DVD player? And, you know, when do you plan to use it? Well, you'd like to use it as soon as possible, right? So looking at what your savings goals are and trying to put a savings plan together, right, to help you achieve that goal so you can get what it is that you want to get. So here's an example, right? I used a computer system, right, which cost about $1,800. So let's say I want to have that computer system in a year, right? It's 12 months. So I divided $1,800 by 12 to get $150. That means I need to be saving $150 every month so that I can get that computer system in a year. So this is just an example. So what are some of the things that you might want to save for? Think about the picture you created in your head and take that picture and turn it into some sort of savings goal. What are some of those things that you want to save for? Okay, so we've got some, oh, let's see, Sabrina's hoping for a car, and Selena's working on a laptop. That's great. Those are two really great goals. So the next step is to figure out, well, how much are those items going to cost me? And how soon do I want to have those items? And then in months, right? And so then to kind of begin to do the math, right? Take the cost, divide it by the number of months that you'd like to have it, and then that's how much you need to set aside every month so you can get to your goal. So Jamie, that's great. From your group, you have someone saying a car, an apartment, a phone. That's awesome. We have some big goals here. All right. So you need to figure out, how to save for your goals. And so you need to prioritize which ones are needs. As I spend my money, am I spending it on needs or am I spending it on wants? And you need to think of your goals. Are they needs or are they wants? And it's important to turn those goals into something that's real and tangible and something that you really want to work towards. And so that's one of the reasons why I suggest create a picture or a poster of the things that you really are trying to strive for, because then that will stay in your mind and you can work towards them. Then you can think about, well, where's the best place to put the money that you're saving? Is it in the bank? Is it in a savings account? Is it part of your checking account? Is it in a piggy bank? Is it in a jar? You want to make sure it's someplace safe where no one can steal it from you. But you want to be able to put it in someplace safe. Another key point here is you want to set aside the money regularly for those items. So for me, for example, I have several savings goals. I set up 3 different savings accounts because I have 3 different goals. When my money comes in from my paycheck, I put money in each of those savings accounts. And it makes me very happy because I can watch the amount grow from paycheck to paycheck, how much goes into each of those accounts. Now you see in the picture, we have jars, right? It could be jars, but it's probably safer if it's in some sort of a savings account, right? And you want to get support from your system to help you succeed. So for example, I have a couple of really good friends and they love to spend money. And, they like to get together and they say, come on, Maria, let's go to the mall. Let's go shopping. And, they have a little bit more money than I do. And so they really enjoy that shopping experience and they bring me along so we can be all together. But then they're always like, nudging me to spend money that I don't really have and I don't want to spend in that way. Right. And so to me, those people aren't very supportive of what I'm trying to do. So I've made some other friends, and it's not that I don't hang out with those other people anymore. It's just that I come up with different ideas of how to spend time together. So I might invite them over to my house and we play games, for example, or maybe watch a movie. We have a kind of a Friday night movie night. So we've come up with different ways to hang out that don't cost me as much money, right? So those are some of the things that you kind of have to come up with in order to help yourself succeed. All right, strategy 3 is about setting up an emergency fund, meaning stuff happens. Sometimes it may be a, uh, um, a, a, a co-payment, or something breaks and we have to repay it or rebuy it. And so that emergency fund then helps us cover those expenses, those unexpected things. And so it's really important to have a little emergency fund, and you need to pay yourself first in order to create this a little chunk of change. And maybe it's $500, depending on your situation. And it needs to be in a place where you can get to easily so that when something happens, you can access the money quickly. And the idea here is you have the money so you don't have to use a credit card in order to fix things, right? In order to replace things. So because credit can cost us a lot in terms of interest payments. So the thing here is determine the strategies that will help you succeed. And one of those things is having that little bit of money to help you cover emergencies when they happen. And so again, where do you put it once you have it, that emergency fund, and you want it somewhere safe, and you want it someplace where you can get to it easily, and you want it someplace where you might be able to earn some interest on it. It's not earning interest if it's in a piggy bank. You'd want to have it in a savings account somewhere. All right, strategy 4 is about creating a spending plan to help you. And last week we talked a lot about this in terms of taking control of your finances. But strategy 4 is really important in terms of kind of understanding where your money's coming from and where it's going. So creating a spending plan helps you live within your income, right? And then spend effectively, meaning you're putting your money where you want it to go. It helps you reduce your reliance on credit and helps you achieve some personal goals. And of course, once you get it working, it helps you feel really good about your money and not stressed. It helps you build your confidence. And a spending plan also helps you find money to set aside for savings. Because once you know exactly where your money's going, you can make better decisions about where you want your money to go. And then I think the other piece is, once you create a spending plan, that support network or family members can help you, manage better. And by talking about it, like my little story about my friends and going to the mall, once you talk about it, right, then you can kind of all get aligned and work towards helping you succeed. So what are the steps in developing a spending plan? It's about figuring out what's coming in. That's identify the income, but also what's going out. And so figuring out, well, what are those monthly expenses? And what are those things that come once in a while? Maybe that's birthdays or holidays or some sort of insurance payment. And figuring out how do I set aside money for those things now so I have it when I need them. It's also about incorporating in some of those goals, right? So if I'm saving for goals that I want to accomplish, I want to figure out how do I put that into my monthly plan so that you are paying yourself first to achieve those goals. If you're someone who has credit card debt or other kinds of debt, you want to look at what that looks like, how much that is, and be organized about how do I begin to pay that down so I have more money for my daily living expenses. So once you kind of have all that information, you look at it And you kind of see, how does it add up, right? Is the income covering all those different places I want my money to go? And if it doesn't, right, if you're spending more than your income, then you're in trouble. And you need to be looking at, well, how do I adjust this a little bit so that I can still accomplish those goals that I want and have my income equal my spending and savings and debt payment. And so from there, you can set up a monthly plan and you can write it down and then keep track of your expenses. And then that helps you see, am I on track? Am I not on track? What do I need to change so that I can get back on track? All of those things can really help you take control of your finances, but also find money to save. So strategy 5, identify places to find money to save. So in this example, I'm kind of doing some calculating. I'm looking at some of those habits, right? And what might I be able to do differently? So this first habit is, yes, going to McDonald's once a week and spending $6. So $6 per week times 52 weeks is $312 I'm spending at McDonald's. Is this really where I want my money to go? Right? How about this three $1.50 coffees per week, right? Times 52 weeks is $234. Is that really where I want my money to go? Again, $1 at the vending machine 2 times a week times 50 weeks, $100, right? So look at all this money I just spent on basically eating out. Is this really where I want my money to go? Are there some different ways that I can still have coffee, right? Still have some snacks, maybe not spending $6 at McDonald's a week, right? Are there other ways I can use this money in a more effective way? So there's my question. Where would you find some additional money, right? By changing some of the things that you are already doing. What are some ideas that you have for your own self?
I'll chip in a comment. When I was working before I retired, I almost every day had my lunch in the office. And it usually was food that I had brought in prepackaged. So it's not free, but it's a lot cheaper than buying in the cafeteria.
That's a great example. So someone shared cutting out Goodwill shopping sprees. Thank you, Beth. Yeah, so we need to think about, well, like, where do we go shopping and why? And it may feel like it's inexpensive, but if you compare it to some things that you really want to accomplish, is it really necessary to do those shopping sprees? So yeah.
I think that one of the things for me is something you already mentioned, and it's about what do you need versus what you want. Sometimes with the pressure that we have with the stores and advertisement, there's like, okay, now is Labor Day weekend sales. So it kind of in our brain that we all have to go and buy something because it's going to be in sale, and probably something that we don't really need. So I've been trying not to go into those type of situations. Like now in the Christmas time, it will be a lot of it. So it's just to make sure before I buy something, do I really need it? And if it's a piece of clothing, I'm gonna buy that, then I have to take something out to donate or to give to someone else. But just to really build into that and not spend money that really doesn't make me happy at the
Yeah,
end.
yeah. Well, and you brought up a really good point because Christmas is coming, holidays are coming, a lot of advertising, and there's also a lot of pressure, right, to get the best present. And so I really encourage people make a list of who you're going to buy for and, figure out, well, how much am I willing to spend for each of those people? And that way it can help you, narrow down the price range for which that you're going to buy something for someone. Because if you just go to the store and say, I need something for my sister, or I need something for my friend, and you're looking for something that they like, and it's, costs $75, you may be more inclined to buy it than if you say, I need something for my friend and I'm only going to spend $25. And then you're looking for things that are $25 or less. So it changes the way you think about what you're looking for and helps you stay within that spending plan. Does that make sense? So make a list. Make a list. All right, here's one of the things that I wanted to share with you. I think is really a great way, a great visual, is this idea of stepping down your spending. And so thinking about, so the goal here is, let's just say having dinner, right? If having dinner is the goal, then what is the way we can do that? Well, there's lots of ways you can do that. You can eat out, but eating out in a restaurant is going to be the most expensive. So how might I step down my thinking, right? Or my spending? So maybe I take it out of the restaurant, right? Which we're all doing anyway these days. But so you're taking out from the restaurant rather than eating there, because it's more expensive. You have to pay the server, there's a tip. There's oftentimes we order more than we need. We have the dessert and the extra soda and whatnot, right? So eating out is more expensive than taking it out of the restaurant. A step down there might be some fast food options. And then a step down from there is, well, let's get pizza from the freezer at the supermarket rather than eating out at the pizza restaurant, because they're cheaper at the supermarket than that they are either in eating takeout or eating at a restaurant. So there's lots of different ways we can do that for different kinds of products that we might be trying to spend money on, right? So it's that idea of how do you achieve the same thing, right? We want to eat out. We don't want to prepare food at home. How can I do it in a less expensive manner? All right, strategy 6. Identify your spending habits that help or hinder your savings program, and then figure out how to work around yourself, right? We all have money personalities. We all have spending habits that impact us. Is there a way to identify some different ways that you can do things and trick yourself into getting what you want or need, but spending less? So one idea would be keeping a picture of the goal, in front of you, and keep reminding yourself, this is what's more important than these other things. Sometimes it's putting physical distance between you and your money, right? If your money is in your pocket, it is really easy to spend. If your money is in a savings account somewhere, it's harder to spend. If it's in a savings account in Pittsburgh and the only way you can get it is if you drive there, it is really hard to spend. And so thinking about what kind of a distance you might need to put between you and your money so you don't spend it as easily. We talked about direct depositing into a savings account so that his money is coming into an account. Some of it is automatically going to a savings, so you don't see it, right? So that could be that 401 retirement savings, but it could be a savings for some of your other goals. Ask help from your support system. So have those conversations with friends and family to help you stay on track. If you're someone who has a credit card, leave it at home. Use your debit card, because when you use your debit card, it's coming right out of your checking account, and somehow it feels very different when we spend money on our debit card than we do on our credit card. And then lastly, you want to celebrate the successes. For me, I like to see my bank account statements, my bank savings amounts go up and up and up and up. And so I look at them to see, how am I doing? Then I do little happy dances when I achieve those goals for myself. So it's about figuring out what your spending habits are and coming up with strategies that will help you succeed. So here are the 6 tips, right? Strategies. And so you want to try and put these into place. You want to look at and figure out what are some of those money habits you have that you might need to shift a little bit, maybe use less, you do it less frequently, you know, kind of step down how frequent you're doing things, so that you can create some more money that you can set aside, and then setting those goals to kind of start you on your way. We know if we have it pictured in our brain, our behaviors will follow. So it's really important to have those goals in your head, maybe in a picture or a poster that keeps reminding you these things are more important than these other things, right? Creating that emergency fund helps build that little safety net for yourself in case something bad goes wrong, or you have an emergency and you need to cover an expense. Creating that spending plan will also help you. And if you missed last time's session, we can get you hooked up with the recording for that so you can learn a little bit more about that. You want to figure out where you can find places to find money to save, and then look at those spending habits, come up with those tricks that will help you succeed. And all of those steps, all those strategies will help you set a little bit of money aside for those things that are most important to you. So some other things that I think will be helpful. One is setting up an ABLE account, and in this way you can use some pre-tax dollars to set money aside for financial expenses associated with being disabled. And next week we're having a talk just specifically on that. Another idea is, you know, if you get some sort of a windfall, maybe it's a birthday present, maybe it's an inheritance, maybe it's extra hours at work, income tax refunds, all of those things. If you get a nice little chunk of change, set that aside, right? Or spend some of it and save the rest of it. And then just start. Even if it's just collecting that loose change, just start. It feels good once you watch those numbers go up in your savings account. So again, I want to reiterate next week, next Thursday, October 15th from noon to 1, we're having the Delaware ABLE Plan program that helps to secure your future. So we hope to see you all next week for that. And then, you know, you got to remember, right? Time is as precious an investment resource as money. And so there's always this little trade-off between time and money. And so it's okay to kind of think about and balance that out. But especially when it comes to savings, if you have money in an account that's earning interest, time can really help you. And then a penny saved is a penny saved, right? The old saying is a penny saved is a penny earned, but a penny saved is a penny saved. And so setting money aside is really important to build that savings. And then where there's a will, there's a way. So I know sometimes it's really hard, but if you have those goals in mind, if you have the motivation, if you have the support of your friends and your support system, it can be really beneficial, and they can help you succeed and motivate you. And the earlier you start, the better when it comes to savings, because then you'll feel financially secure. You'll feel you'll have time to let interest do its wonders in terms of helping you accumulate more money. And so the sooner you start, the better. So a few more resources, both at Cooperative Extension, our website, and also we have a thing called Ask an Expert. And so you can always email in a question, and there will be folks there that can help you answer those questions. And then lastly, but not least, we would love for you to fill out our survey so that we can improve our programming. And so I am going to put that survey into the chat box. It is a link that you can click there. It will take you to a survey that you can do online. So I want to thank you for attending today. Again, my name is Maria, and that's my phone number and my email, and you're more than welcome to reach out to me if you have any other questions. And it's a few minutes for questions. You're very welcome. Thank you very much for attending.